what we really need to do is to just act and execute, make things happen. Like, do the things that really will make you happy.
Hi everyone, it's Adrian Pangilinan again, and welcome back to Soul Supremacy, where we talk about all things unapologetic, all things passion, and in pursuit of. And welcome to a new episode. And for today, we have my friend from the Philippines, Alec Cuenca, who is the host of Small Talk with Alec Cuenca. Um, and his podcast has really been one of the podcasts that actually is really the first podcast that I really started to listen to in the longer format, which eventually got me to listening into podcasts in general. So without further ado, let's bring in our kapatid from the Philippines, and it's midnight here. So thank you again very much for being here with us. Okay, hello Alec, welcome.
Hello, Adrian. Finally. And
Yes,
I'm really excited that you have your own podcast now. Dati nakikinig ka lang before you were
yes.
just listening. Now you have your own show, and I'm really excited that I could share some of my insights and my experiences here on your show. So thank you for having me.
Yes, salamat. Okay, so before we get started, I have 5 icebreaker questions before we get into the main body and then the conclusion. Yun lang. Pretty simple, pretty straight to the point. Okay, so my first question for you is 5 things about you that people wouldn't know right away from meeting you.
Okay. So when meet a new, when I meet a person, I try to be as calm as possible. But one, I really love partying. I'm a
Mm,
outgoing person. Um, I'm really talkative when you get to know me, and I like rap music, and that's
mm.
something that surprises people.
Okay, next question. TikTok or Spotify/Apple Podcast?
Ooh, that's tricky because I really grew my podcast from TikTok. And in TikTok, I have a lot more followers. I have a lot more people to talk to, but I enjoy Spotify a little bit more because it's more intimate. So the people who listen to the podcast has a very special place in my heart. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What does your morning routine usually look like?
When I wake up, I make my coffee, my oatmeal. Then I go down. I write down on my journal for 20 minutes. I try to meditate for 20 minutes, and then I read a book for an
Mm,
hour. So yeah, that's my morning
wow.
routine.
Wow, that's cool. I usually, yeah, I meditate for 20 minutes too. I don't know why that number came up. 20 minutes, yes, when I usually meditate. Okay, next question. Dream guest for your podcast.
Mm,
If you
that's
can think alive or dead, actually, I forgot to put that. Alive or dead.
okay.
So,
Well, I had one of my dream guests. I actually guested on one of my dream guests yesterday, and it was uploaded today. It was the number one podcaster here in the Philippines. It's Joyce Spring. But now that I feel like I could get her on the show a lot more closer than I think.
you made
I'll
it, kapatid. You made it. Okay, there you go. You made it.
yeah, no, I'll maybe change that to probably
Your next
the
one.
man who the next one would be like Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah, that would be a
Mm.
dream. Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? Super long story short, I had a friend. I have a friend who used to work for him
Hmm.
doing I think video editing, and so she quit. But then she was left with a whole bunch of this wine, empathy wines,
Yeah.
and like so. So I actually got to try it. So I was like, "This is
Oh.
Gary Vaynerchuk's wine over here."
yeah.
It's also good.
Yeah. I'd like to try that if
Yeah.
I given the chance.
Oy, claim mo na ano kapag when you get the chance to go here, try his wine.
Of course.
Okay. Okay, my last question for the icebreaker is what is inside Alex's heart right now? Wow, who got
Hmm. Heart. I think my heart is in creating content, in providing
Mm,
value to a lot more people, and trying to expand my reach and to share my message across the globe.
nice. And you have and you have, yeah. Okay. Okay, so looks like that is yeah, that's it. Okay. So Guys, for those that are watching, I just woke up. Okay, so I'm for my podcast. I'm very frank. I'm very just like kind of transparent about where I'm at. So just to let you all know, this is the earliest that I've woken up for podcast filming, and just for Alec because like what I mentioned earlier, we've been trying to set this up for a while. Alec is busy. He's getting busier. He's really doing it, and it's really cool to have met him. Um, I think a little bit before he started this podcast. I actually met him on YouTube, which are some of the questions that we're gonna get in later in regards to the transition. But I just want to say that talagang I'm so proud of him. So proud of you. Yeah,
Thank you.
especially listen to your first episode. I still
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I would not forget the people who watched the YouTube videos while I was trying to figure it out, and
Yeah. When you
the
had your
people.
Yeti unboxing.
Yes, it was the first time that I had this mic. Now I'm using it for podcast, and the people who
Yeah.
saw my journey and the people who supported me all along the way. I couldn't thank them enough. Yeah, and that
Thank
includes you.
you.
Adrian. So thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the first question is, who is Alec Cuenca?
Well, right now, if you would ask me that question like 6 months ago, I would given a totally different answer. But right now, I am a content creator who posts motivational and inspirational content online. I am the host of the podcast, Small Talk Podcast, where basically I talk about everything about self improvement. And I also speak. I don't consider myself as a motivational speaker, but that's how they label me here in the webinars that I speak at. But
Mm.
yeah, I guess that's mainly it.
That's surprising that you don't consider yourself as a motivational speaker. But I guess that does, parang it comes with its
Yeah.
responsibilities versus just I know you're just doing it, diba? You're just speaking from your heart and
Yeah,
your
because
life experiences.
yeah, a lot of people, especially when they go online, they see these motivational
Oh yeah.
speakers. They see like very energetic and very hype, and just you want to get off your ass and just work and work and work. But
hmm
the way I do it is like I share my story, and if people get motivated by it, then thank you. But if not, that's my truth. That's my story. But here are some
hmm
insights that maybe you could apply in your life. So I'm trying to be more of educational speaker more than a motivational speaker.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, either way, I see both. I mean, you've really inspired me, especially with the pandemic. I really doubled down on listening to podcasts for the first time, and I was like, oh shoot! Now I really see why like people can become better. It's really about the kinds of information that you consume, diba? The people that you surround yourself with, the things that all that stuff. So, okay, next question. If you still remember, I always ask everyone this. I know we haven't met in person, but from your recollection, how did we first meet, cross paths?
Mm, I think it was from a YouTube page,
Mm,
or I came across your channel and then you checked out mine. I think maybe it's from the comment section or a Facebook a YouTube group in Facebook.
mm,
That's how I remember it. Am
yeah.
I right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It does feel like we just literally just like kind of met online, but then it's been a while.
Yes.
We've kind of actually been able to connect after. So yeah. Thanks, Facebook. Wow, that was cringe. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Okay, my next question is, what was Alec like as a kid growing up?
As a kid growing up, I tried my best to be as mature as possible. Um, my mother was working abroad, and my father was not always here beside me, so I had to look out for my brothers, and I had to look out for myself. And I was a very happy kid,
Mm,
and I made a lot of friends growing up. And but I think it's both a mixture of the happiest guy in the group and the one who has who is very emotional at the same time. I think I'm that kind of kid growing up. So yeah, but I'm very energetic. I'm very playful. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So then at what point did you get into content creation? Because I know, like, from listening to your podcast, I know that you briefly talked about it,
Mhm.
kind of wanting to make an impact, wanting to become an influencer, or just wanting to be in that space. So how did that happen? I'm curious.
Um, well, there was a point back in 2017 where I just couldn't handle the stuff that I'm going through. So I went to
Mhm.
an emotional breakdown. But after that, when I got past that, I felt like there are a lot of people who are going through the same stuff, but they don't actually have that someone who will remind them that it's okay, that it's normal to experience stuff like that. And I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be that friend online that would remind people that, hey, it's okay, it's normal. You're going to get through this. Just keep going. And so I actually started small talk in YouTube, where I talked about relationships and some life advice. But when I was reading a book by Gary Vaynerchuk at that time, it
Mhm.
was Crushing It, and he said that the future is audio. And so I researched about
Ooh.
podcasting. I learned how I could put my name, my show on Spotify, and I created my podcast. And even though I was enjoying YouTube with all the
Yes, yeah.
views, I was it was taking too much time in trying to
Mhm.
edit my videos. So and back at the time, I was still studying, and well, I'm still am right now. I'm finishing my degree, and but that time I had so little time to just edit and create content online. And so I transitioned. I focused more on creating podcasts. And when I created podcasts, even though it wasn't getting a lot of numbers like in YouTube, I got like 5 listeners to 10 listeners. But there was this one. There's this one guy who messaged me that, hey, Alec, you don't know me, but you just saved me tonight. And when I read that
Mm.
message, I was like, okay, this is more fulfilling than YouTube. So I doubled down
Mm.
on it, and now here I am.
Nice. Wow. That's funny. Actually, you really answered several of my questions here. So I'm gonna go straight into the next one. So then, at what point did you know that this was something you wanted to pursue and pursue professionally? I mean, I'm not sure if I'm correct on that, because I know you're going to school. You just what you just said. You're just finishing you're in your last semester, right? You're about to
Yeah,
graduate. You're so
yeah.
close, and your podcast is really it's like you have these two, like, parang, like, achievements, like, going like
Yeah.
this. So actually, my real question is, where are you at with all of this? I know that you're about to graduate, and then you
Mm.
are with your podcast. So nasaan ka na with this? How do you feel?
Well, right now I feel like my degree is my safety net. Of course, I because well, we're not really well off here in the Philippines, so I might be needing that safety net where I go back to a corporate job and just
Mhm.
work, and try to save money to start my own business, but like that. But the thing is, with the podcast right now and with the content creation, I'm actually earning some uh, money on the side. And if this continues and if this grows, then maybe if it could help me live life on my own terms, which is something that I wrote on my 2021 goals. If this could help me do that, then I might not need that degree. Pero I'd really love to apply my engineering, try to feel how an engineer feels like. So I'm still willing to do
Mhm.
that. Maybe try it out. Maybe do it for a year. But one
Yeah.
thing's for sure, I will not stop creating content, whether it's a
Mhm.
podcast, especially the podcast and the small videos that I create on TikTok.
Yeah, it's good because it's yeah. There's just something about living life that, obviously, living more of your life, that gives you more, I know, depth and experiences when it comes to creating your podcast. Well, I'm at a loss for words. Shut up, very lucky. Um, okay, I'm curious. I'm curious. What goes into creating your podcast? Please share some of your thoughts about how does your mind work? Like, what usually? Okay, so how do you go from idea to creation when it comes to creating small talk?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. A lot of people are asking me, where do you get your ideas? And I always tell them that I get my ideas from the problems that I'm struggling with. So if you see
Mhm.
me talking about overthinking, I'm probably overthinking last week. If you see my episode all about anxiety, I'm probably dealing with my anxiety. And the thing is, back in 2017, when I decided to, be more active in the self help, in my self improvement process, I read a lot of books. And so what I do is I look at my current experiences and try to connect that with the theories that I read from the books. And
Mhm.
so those are the things that I share on my podcast. So I take one problem out of my life and try to find solutions that has been always, been with us. It's
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's everywhere. Like the answers for our problems, it's in the internet. Everything
Yes.
is in the internet. We just
Yeah.
need to find them and figure out a way that we could apply it to our lives. And so that's what I do with the idea process. And so when I have an idea, I take out my notebook. I try to put out bullet points. I don't prepare my
Mhm.
whole script. And if I need some
Okay.
research
Okay.
on, if I need to research on some more things to verify the theories that I have in mind, I'll do some more research. But basically, if I really don't believe in it, if I really don't have it in my mind, I'm not going to say it in my podcast. So,
Mhm.
excuse me. So
Okay lang.
basically, everything that I do, I just try to make a bullet point out of it. And I don't try to put it in my script. So the podcast still feels like genuine and natural.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kasi that is one of the things that I picked up about your podcast is parang how super, unapologetic you are about leaving like you'll just start all over, and you just kind of like take a breath and like, you know, but you keep going. And that's something that I really started to pick up on. And I was like, wow, ang tapang, talagang ang tapang. So that's really good. Yeah. I mean, obviously, because we live in a world now where it's perfect. I mean, it feels like it's perfection over anything, diba? Super polished, super put together, when reality life is not really like that. Um, so my follow up question with that is, may ano ka ba? Like, are you doing anything on the side, or are you just doing small talk full time
Hmm.
besides school? Like, are you working? I'm curious.
Well,
Are you?
with the growth I had, through my TikTok account and my Facebook, with my podcast, I've actually had I've actually had a lot of talks that I do on the side. Another one company contacted me to create a masterclass about podcasting, and
Mm,
basically it's going to be live. I think next. Well, if you're watching this, it's going to be available on March. So if you're watching this on March, it's available.
No, this
Uh,
no, this is good because this episode is coming out towards March. Like I think you're like the third week of February.
yeah,
So
so
that's good.
I'm doing coaching services as well. I have one-on-one
Yes.
coaching. I have my mindset program coaching, and what else? Yeah, I mean, the podcast brought a lot of opportunities in my life that I did
Mm-hmm.
not expect would exist. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things that are happening besides the podcast. And yeah, that's the reason why we really had a hard time, making a perfect time for this, because I'm just
I know
everywhere. And
these people.
when it comes like madaling araw na, pag alas 12 na, I really have my energy down. But I'm
Oh no, I
really,
know.
yeah. So but we gotta make this work, right? Minsan lang naman din na mag-usap tayo, and I've been looking forward
Yeah,
to like talking to you for a very long time now. Mas nauna ko pa nakausap yung friend na
I know.
recommend
See,
mo,
they.
kinanek mo sa akin, which is si Rix. Kaya,
Yeah.
ayun, I'm really excited I'm really happy na nakita na kita ngayon. Yan, nakausap.
Likewise. Talagang maraming like what I've been telling him before we started. I was just like, thank you. Actually, that's what I tell everyone. But for him specifically, it's midnight. Midnight na I had a long day, and talagang salamat. Okay, I actually just have a couple more questions because I'm
No, yeah,
super
we could
mindful
go
about
for a while, for an hour.
Hey, I'll try not to. Pero I'm getting curious now because this is like our first time meeting. So
Mm.
can you okay, because I did that is something that you recently announced on your podcast na your mastermind and then your coaching services because I'm working with a coach too. Oh my
Uh-huh.
goodness. So would you I know can you talk about that like what made you start that and how has your process been like? So no, so I mean because I'm still not sure if because I know your slots are probably filling up. I'm not sure if there are going to be slots open by the time this comes out, but just in case, you know, someone here still
Yeah.
watching, you still have some rooms. Go talk about it. Go.
Because when I release the podcast masterclass, I'll be doing a lot of coaching as well. And I'm not sure. I think I would want to coach everyone who enrolls in the podcast masterclass. So it's a um, free premium that people will get when they enroll in the
Mm,
masterclass. So
yes.
I'm trying my best to get clients for my coaching program. Right now I have two. I have two clients, and I'm helping
Yes.
them with creating their own social media presence.
Mm,
And I think that's really one of my earliest gifts in 2021, because not only am I helping other people, I'm learning a lot more about myself. A lot of people, when they start their own coaching services, when they try to coach other people, they think it's all about giving the other person value. But comes with that is learning about more about yourself and figuring out which areas do you need to improve on. And this is basically, and you know me, I love the process of getting better, I love the process of growth.
mhm,
And this has been one of like the main things that would make me see and realize the things that I lack, the things that I need to improve on. And when I see that, I try my best to improve it every single week.
mhm.
And I try to show up for my clients. And luckily, they're both really supportive, and they are really happy with how I'm doing the coaching program. And it will just get better from here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, no congratulations because the fact that you n- let me get my thoughts together. Hold on. The fact na not only you got one, but you got two. You got two
Yeah.
people na ano talagang of course there are more of us that naniniwala in you in the first place, but it's like these two people, they believe in you that much to give you your
Yes.
no. Kasi because
Yeah.
you're this is something that you're starting. This
Mm-hmm.
is something that you're doing for the first time, so it's yeah, because going back to numbers, I know you talked about numbers earlier, which I think I'm actually gonna segue. I'm gonna like segue back into something that I want to ask earlier. Um, because when it comes to content creation, especially the times that we're on now, like being online, that we can't help but the numbers. We can't help but what am I trying to say? Put feelings. There's a pressure to have high numbers basically, and there is something about having small numbers na, you know well, that's just my thoughts on it, but um what were s- what were some of your I know because I know that we've mainly talked about your parang overarching journey,
Mm-hmm.
and we all know it's never like that. So I'm curious to know what are some of your I know challenges that you face while creating your podcast, if you had any.
Yeah, well, back then, the struggle was really balancing all the other areas in my life,
Mhm.
and the podcast, because the podcast is something that you would really need to put your time and effort to make it work. And
Yes.
so that's one of the problems is balancing. The second is actually having the guests that I would like to have on the show. Like before, I was just doing solo episodes. I wasn't
Yeah.
ready to open my podcast to other people. And so when I decided that I would invite guests on my show, that's the only time that I signed in the podcast network. And because I saw their roster, they have a lot of
Yes.
interesting names. So I
Mm-hmm.
signed up with them. It's Podcast Network Asia. And then basically, one of the perks there is that any people on the network, if I wanted to collaborate with them, I would just tap them, I would just send them a message, and they cannot refuse. So
Mm.
I've been collaborating with a lot of people right now, but that's something that I was really having a hard time before because
Mm-hmm.
here in the Philippines there are only a few people. You can ask you can ask people to guest on your show and talk about mental health and self help and development. But for me, kasi I would like to have a the guest as something like an expert at something who really
Yes.
who really has proven that he or she is credible enough to speak on the show. I can't just have friends over because then I can just basically talk because not no offense to my friends, but
Mm.
it's like when you want to learn something new, and basically that's what I want to share in the podcast. So you have to meet new people, and
Yes.
having the right new people.
Like you,
Uh,
you're my first parang kind of far off in my circle interview.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, and that this is a really an interesting journey for you as well when you get to hard cold email the people that you'd want to have on your show, and you would not expect that they would say yes. And you try other people that you didn't expect that would go on your show and try to give value, but when they go on the show they would provide a lot of value. And that's just an interesting thing, I think. Comes with it is the confidence that when you have your first guests,
Mm.
I think the confidence really builds in, and you kind of figure out
Yes.
what to say or how to approach people when you invite them on the show. So that's the second challenge that I had was inviting my guests. And the third one is, yeah, I think that's those are the only two challenges that I was able to face. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
technical side and
Oh
marketing side
yeah.
of things, but basically those were like um, excused because I was really enjoying that kind of work of being rejected, of being posting and not caring if other people see
Mm.
or listen to the podcast, and just creating videos and not really giving a damn if people would like it. So I really enjoyed that process. So I don't really consider it as a major challenge that I was able to overcome. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Wow, talaga napawa ako talagang I have nothing to say. Okay, next question. I'm assuming you, not assuming, but I think I have an idea that you record your episodes where you're at, right? Like a lot of us do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, have you always received the support and the confidence that you need through the place where you're at now, through your support system? Nung when you were starting this, was this something that because I know I'm not sure I think at some point you had your girlfriend, your cousin, correct me if I'm wrong, you had like several people come on
Yeah.
when you started, which was so different back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were starting this out, like did you have the support that you needed?
No, I actually didn't. I was because when you're starting out something like this, something new, especially if if people are used to who you are, the version of who you present to them, they would
Oh
think
yes.
that
Oh
you're
yeah.
like this forever. And so when I
Oh
was
yeah.
starting this podcast, I didn't have any support around me. I think one of the best support was actually an indirect support from my girlfriend. I
Mm-hmm.
always like to think that I'm a very positive guy, and my girlfriend is I'm a very idealistic guy, and my girlfriend is more of a realistic woman. So every
Mm.
time I put my hopes up, he would try to give me the facts. He would try to lay
Oh
out the reality.
yes. Real.
So
She's a realist. Yep, I'm like
yeah.
that too. I'm an optimist. I'm optimistic. Then when my actually a lot of my good friends are
Mm,
realists as well. Where sometimes they always have to bring me down. Kailan nila
yeah.
tayo baba, bring back to earth. There you
Yeah.
go.
And the only thing that I was really concerned at the time that I was growing the podcast is I had more negative people. It's like
Mm,
if you have 5 friends, you need to have 4 yes friends and 1 no friend. And
mm,
so I had my no friend, which is my girlfriend, and I was really lacking those 4 yes friends because all the other people around me were just, if they are not if they are not yes, they're just basically neutral, and that really
true.
doesn't help me at all. So
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't have the support, but I really enjoyed what I'm doing, and so I kept on doing it. And I wasn't doing it for them. I always believe
Mm,
when I was starting, and even now, I always remind myself that there is an audience out there, and if people around you are not going to connect with your message, it's okay because the content is not
yeah.
for them. You create it
Mm,
for the other people who might be scrolling tonight, who might see your content, and who you might help. So focus on the
yeah.
people who will connect to your message, not the people who doesn't support you.
Thank you. Um, meron pa ba akong tanong? It's funny. I've literally looked at my questions. I'm like, wow. I think that is. Yeah. You've. Well, first of all, can we just congratulate Alec again for being here? And for some reason, it totally left my mind that I'm talking to someone who's like, that's just like who's had like you've been doing this a lot longer than I have. So you're just like straight to the point. You very concise,
Yeah.
very good with your answers. Wow. Um, I do think I just have maybe a couple, maybe like two more before my last kind of big question. Okay, so now that you're about to graduate, and oh wait, no, just kidding. Okay, I wanted to talk about Podcast Network Asia because I remember when you, I know, when you announced it, and then
Mhm.
you were about to do it, but then you didn't do it, and then you finally did it. What happened? No,
Yeah.
spill the tea, kapatid. Spill the tea. Go.
Yeah, that's a funny story because last year, they wanted, not only them but the other podcast network here. They wanted me to be on their like starting roster or like second round of rosters of podcasters, but I didn't sign with them because they were basically telling me that I could monetize the podcast, that I could earn from the podcast, that I could treat my podcast as a business, and that's not something that I feel like doing at the moment. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are going here because they think that you could get brands to work with you. They could collaborate with companies and people. But the main reason I was doing it is not for that. So it was really a conflict for my podcast. So instead of really joining them, I said, I will continue to make better content, better quality content. I'll try to grow the podcast as much as possible. And so when it grew this fast, that was the time that I needed help. And so I
Mm.
messaged podcast. I reviewed the contracts that they sent me, and so the main difference that I saw was that in the podcast network Asia, they don't own any of the rights of my podcast. So basically,
Oh, that's
Small Talk
good.
Podcast
Yes. It's still yours.
is still mine. Like I won't
Yes.
give any percentage of my creative rights or anything of that sort. And so I signed with them because I really need, and I'm really happy that I did because I didn't know that they would help the podcasters in everything. Like right now, I have my own production team where I just send them the files, they edit everything,
Eh,
they take care of the graphics, they take care of the
wow.
marketing side. If I need like a StreamYard account or anything that could help my podcast, they give it to me. So there are like 2 producers, sound engineers that are assigned to the podcast. And so now I really don't need to go spend most of my time editing and uploading them. I just
Yes.
send them to my producer and they edit it. So that's really one thing that really helped me. But the other thing is that when you want to double down or triple down on your on whatever you're trying to do, I really love this quote na, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go
Oh.
far, go with people. Diba?
Oh,
So,
yes, collaboration. I was just telling my friend about that last night. If you want to,
yeah.
we'll grow in the sense that if you want to extend, like actually
Mm,
go far, extend your feelers out.
yeah.
I know, meet people and work with people.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I wanted the podcast to go very very far, and so I decided to join the network, which is I'm really happy right now because they're really supportive. Whether, for example, they want to edit all of my episodes, but I say that I really enjoy editing, so please don't take that away from me. Like I'll edit
Uh,
like 50% of my podcast episodes, and you'll edit the rest.
yeah.
And they're really supportive about that, and I really love the support that they're giving me.
Nice. Congratulations. This is crazy. I finally get to tell you in person, personally. Congratulations. Talagang congratulations sa lahat ng na-achieve mo because from what I've known of you and from what you've shared, you've really gone through a lot, and
Yeah.
you've just really been someone that's been not only inspirational but also aspirational as well, because kind of going back to um my own hard times that I was going through, I like a lot of them really included me listening to your podcast and just kind of like having like just someone talk to you, when everything else is kind of like, oh crap, my reality is not good right now, and how do I help myself, diba? So thank you, talagang salamat. Okay, two more questions. uh what has been your most memorable experience so far doing this that you haven't mentioned, because I know you've mentioned several things already, like
Okay.
Podcast Network Asia.
I think one of the most memorable was the thing I mentioned earlier, which is I guested on my Dream Guest show, which is something that I like.
Si
I man,
ate Joyce Spring.
yeah, si Joy Spring. I actually, because she's the number one podcaster here in the Philippines, and I was
Oh.
able to like reach the second in the ranking charts, just below her. And so
I,
when
I
I
I
saw
I
that,
remember when you still had that goal, you were like
yeah,
in
I
one
was
of your,
like,
yeah.
I said like if I could get to number two, then I could guest on your show and I could have you on my show. And before, I didn't really think it was possible. Like I knew that it would happen, but I really don't know how it would happen. And
Yes.
I was really surprised when I got this opportunity that she was looking for local podcasters to feature on the show, and I shoot my shot, and she agreed, and I guested. We talked about for 30 minutes, and it was really an amazing experience because it's like meeting your childhood idol. Like I'm
Wow.
doing podcasts because of you. 3 years ago, I was listening to podcasts, and you were the only Filipino podcaster that was creating podcasts. So I
Mm-hmm.
was inspired. I created my own podcast, and now we I saw her, like, even though it's just online. Uh, if you would listen
Mm-hmm.
to that episode from Joy Springs podcast, you would see that I'm trying my best to be calm because I was really fanboying inside. It was like a really
Oh.
really good experience. That's the first one. The second one, second most memorable thing is probably when I was able to receive my first check, my first payout from the podcast. Because for a
Oh
very long
shoot.
time, when I was starting my podcast, I didn't even think about monetizing the podcast. I
Mm-hmm.
did not even think. So when I saw that I was earning money, like real money from the podcast, I was like, wow,
Not
this
just
feels
not just
amazing.
cents, not just cents, pero
Yeah.
talagang ano. Yeah.
Uh, it's just wow. I didn't think it was possible. So when I saw that, like I I just posted, I shared my truth, I shared my message, and now
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting paid for it. Like this is really amazing.
Isn't that interesting how like certain things in our lives will kind of force us to, like, instead of going this direction where everyone else is going, to like go a direction that's like kind of far off, like you're that sheep that started walking by
Yeah.
yourself and you're like, where am I going?
Yeah.
Pero
Yeah.
but
I
then
was
it's really
feeling
the
lost. Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Yes, or like being the black sheep in the sense na you're being the trailblazer, you're carving out your own path for yourself, and for people like me, because you really like how you were just talking about yung kay Joy Spring, you were actually I know I've said this earlier, but you're definitely the person that I started listening to first because I really don't listen to podcasts at all. And I was like, I never considered myself a podcast person. But then again, when I would do my YouTube channel, my friends would generally tell me that I talk I talk a lot, especially for YouTube video, which we all know, they prefer like concise short videos. And for me it's like it's so hard to parang trim my thoughts down. So yeah, super interesting. Yeah. Okay, my final question before I ask you the closing question is, um, as we wrap this up, as we wrap this up, what advice can you give to someone that has a dream to parang angat, to make their lives better by doing content creation? Um, how do you believe they should get there, and what were your actionable steps? Like, what actionable steps can you advise to anyone interested in pursuing this?
Um, yeah, I think if I could like simplify my whole process of
Mm-hmm.
getting to where I am right now, I could
Yes.
pinpoint like three things. First is the belief that you can be better, the mindset that you
Mm.
can grow. It all starts there because if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right. Right? That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite quotes ever. So your belief will be your foundation, will be your pillar, especially when things get rough. If you believe that maybe it's not for you, well, I'm pretty sure that it's not for you. But if you believe that there is a life out there that is better, then you just gotta have faith in it, and things
Mm.
will fall eventually into place. The second is when you have that belief. The second is you just need to start. A lot of
Mm.
people, they try to plan whatever they want to
Yeah.
have in life. They try to make the perfect plan, but that's not how it works. You need to just plan the first part and then apply it, and then review the plan, make your
Mm.
plan very flexible and very easy to adjust. And when things go good, when things go great, then keep doing it. And if things doesn't go well, then try to adjust. Okay, so but a lot of us are just staying too much, spending too much time in our heads, when what we really need to do is to just act and execute, make things happen, like do the things that really will make you happy. Because if you're not doing the things that ultimately make you happy, even though you are getting better in some certain areas, that won't make you feel fulfilled. So that's another thing
Yes.
that you need to
Yeah.
consider, right? You need to
Yeah.
start doing the things that makes you happy, but more importantly, start. So that's the second thing, start.
Mm.
The third is don't stop. Don't stop.
Mm.
Like,
Wow.
don't quit. Never give up. Like, keep going. Keep doing the things that you think that will help you get there. You will see some glimpses that it is possible, and that's why it's really important to celebrate small wins, because we remember that
Ooh.
feeling of having to celebrate the glimpses of the
Mm.
possibilities that it could happen, that we could have a better life. And so
Mm.
once we see that, we hold on to that and we keep going. Okay, so three things: believe, start doing it, and don't stop.
Wow. And on that note, maraming salamat, Alec. Wow, thank you. Thank you. Oh, talaga. Okay, my final question for you is the closing question, I should say, is what legacy does Alec Cuenca want to leave behind in this world?
Nice question. I actually have that as my question in the podcast. So every guest that I would
Nice.
have on the podcast, I would ask them that same question. And this is actually the first time
Oh
that
my
someone
gosh.
asked it.
Oh my gosh, maybe I got it from you subconsciously. If I did, salamat. I
Maybe,
will I
maybe.
mean I was just when I was thinking of my
Pero
questions, I was like, I really like
that
that questions. But go
that's a
ahead.
really interesting question that I haven't really thought about. But right now, yeah, it caught me. Okay, so I want to leave a legacy of inspiring as many people as I can with the resources that I have, with the amount of time that I spend here on Earth. That's
Mm.
basically it. Like, if I know that I was able to change few more people at least, not only one, because I know I am inspiring one people, but a few more people in my life, that would make me happy. That would make my life really fulfilled.
Alec, I'm not sure if you know this, but you have a cult following. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah, you do. I'm one of them. And I really say that because I know talagang not only I respect you as a not only I respect your work, but definitely I respect you as a person. And I know just know that you have a cult following. So if anyone ever tries to attack you, I know attack you online, alam mo na ganito. Alec, kapatid, please promote your upcoming projects. Where can people find you? This is the moment. Just the moment. This is the moment. Go.
Okay, so you can listen to my podcast. It's called Small Talk Podcast. I talk about motivational stuff, inspirational self-help, self-improvement. It's available on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And if you want to, I also post daily motivational videos on TikTok and on Instagram. You can follow me at Small Talk Podcast. And my Twitter is at Alec Cuenca. My Facebook is at Alec Cuenca. YouTube is at Alec Cuenca. And I will have a podcast masterclass if you are interested in growing, in creating, growing, and possibly monetizing your podcast. You need to check that out. Just send me a message on Instagram. Again, it's at Small Talk Podcast if you are interested. And I'll also be having, no, if this will be released in March, hindi na aabot, pero I will be having a TikTok workshop where I teach everything about TikTok. It's going to be on
What's the
March 1 and
date?
March 2.
Oh
It's
no,
going to
this
be
Alec. This is gonna be. Hold on, sorry. Let me just know. This is not March. This is a little bit. So you're the 7th. I think you're on the 19th or
yeah.
26th of February. So aabot to.
Hopefully, if you guys want to check out, because that's the reason why I grew my own personal brand. I use TikTok, and if you want to learn how I did it, then make sure that you check that out as well. So that's all, Adrian. Thank you so much for having me. Um, I definitely want to be here again. Maybe if we could set another time where maybe daytime naman dito, and medyo kahit
Yes.
gabi naman dyan, para medyo ako naman yung mataas ang energy, and ikaw naman
Yeah.
ang medyo kalmado. Pero yun, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this
Salamat.
conversation. It's like a really refreshing view, and it really gave me the time to slow down and reflect on where I am actually right now. So thank you so much.
Hey. Yes. Dali lang. Ano ko lang yung close ko. Dali lang. Hold on. Hey guys, so well, this is my first time that I'm doing this kind of swoop out feature, but so this is the end of this episode. So thank you all for tuning in here. If you made it this far, hopefully you really have been able to, take some things away as I have. That's why in some of the moments that I'm talking to him, I'm like, talagang, I just feel like I was having a hard time recollecting my thoughts, but that's always good. We're gonna get better as we go. So on that note, this is Soul Supremacy, where we talk about all things unapologetic, all things passion, and in pursuit of. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. This podcast show is a product of Studio Penguino. For more information about advertising, please visit www.adrianpenguino.com.